You're listening to a Brawl Network production, and this is Meanie's Bird Recap.
Can you feel that thing that's oozing out your doggone hands? That thing that's beating in your doggone chest right now. Can you feel it?
Win or lose, these guys will be here for you after every single game.
Do you think you're better than me?
Here are your hosts, Giovanni Hamilton, Connor Miles, and ECW Original, the Blue Meanie.
So, welcome to the Meanie's Birds recap show.
Hey, let me hit the proper sounder.
Let's go. Oh, is that how we're feeling today? Is that how we're feeling for the show today?
Yeah,
I think it's really deserved. I think it's incredibly deserved.
Yeah,
That's exactly how I feel. So, normally we talk about the game that was at hand, which we would discuss the Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles matchup, but that seems like a waste of time. There's a ton of stuff going on that we need to talk about. The most I want to discuss about that game was the benching of Carson Wentz for Jalen Hurts in the second half. That's the most we want to touch on that game. Everything else, the comment section is open. The views are flowing in. Reach out, talk about the situation because, as we all know, unless you've been living underneath a rock right now, the Philadelphia Eagles have benched Carson Wentz for Jalen Hurts. He is starting on Sunday versus the New Orleans Saints. We want to hear what you guys think. We're going to discuss what we think. Let's have a great recap show, guys. So, start off. I think the most person I want to hear from, I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I heard this news, I knew he was in school. I knew he was a little bit busy, but I was like, man, I need to hear what Giovanni thinks. I need to hear what he says. So, I'm glad you saved it for the recap show, buddy. So, start it off, man. I texted you. I said, hey, man, did you hear about Carson? You were like, no, and I told you. So, what's going through your mind since then?
You know, I'm a Carson Wentz fan all the way. He's my guy, but I'm an Eagles fan before that, and I trust Coach Peterson in this. And if he thinks this is the best way to go, I trust him. And I just want to see what comes out of Sunday. But
so you're agreeing with the move for what Peterson's going, but if you were running the team, if you're the head coach, since you do have a future in that department, this is not what Giovanni would do, right?
It depends. It depends on if the outcome was the same. If the outcome was the same, I might have to talk it over with my QB coach.
There you go. Very intelligent kid right there. That's a very smart response. So let's hear it, guys. What did you think, Blue Meanie? What went through your head when you're hearing it? You know, the Carson Wentz era right now in 2020 is over with the Eagles. It's Jalen Hurts' time. Yeah,
it's just it was to me. I mean, over the course of the last couple of weeks, I said this is kind of what needs to be done. I always cited the time Andy Reid benched Donovan for Kevin Cobb in the Ravens game, and somehow that lit a fire under his tail. And then next week, Donovan came out guns a-blazing, but it looks like it's going to be Jalen next week. Who knows for the foreseeable future after this game. But, this whole situation, this whole team from top to bottom, from ownership to, the ball boy has been a buffet of a mess, there's so many fingers you could point at anybody. You could say Howie's drafting has been horrible, but then the people Howie drafts and signs here, once they leave here, they go off somewhere else and play better. So is it coaching? So what is it? Is it a mixture of the coaching and not being able to get the best out of your players, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives of what your players can do? Is it play calling? Is it drafting? Because Sidney Jones is going off to greener pastures. He's probably one of the best cornerbacks and one of the best backs in the league. So, what is it? We could bench Carson, we could bring in Jalen, and Jalen can look great. But then, what do you do from there? Do you switch out the coaching? Do you get rid of Howie? If Howie's the bad drafter and the bad talent signer, well, he's just going to bring in talent that might not accentuate, help this team. If it's coaching and you keep Doug, then Doug's just gonna mismanage the team, the play calling, I should say. From what I've always thought, this team needed a true offensive coordinator. It's just Doug right now, and Doug is a quarterback, and he's a gunslinger. He backed up Brett Favre. So if you're a quarterback and you're playing, you're coaching, it's going to be pass, 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 pass. There's been times when the run game looked great, but Doug being a quarterback went to the pass. So it's so much. There's not just one thing you could say, oh, this is definitely the issue. Is it Howie? I don't know. His players go off and play well elsewhere. Is it Doug? Which is it? Is it ownership meddling in the coaching decisions to fire coaches underneath the head coach's nose? One day Doug is like saying, oh, these guys are definitely staying here. And the next day, Eagles cut them. So there's a broken line of communication there. There's something that's fractured there. And it's just a matter of, seeing where it goes and how it plays out. But I don't want it to be at the expense of the next couple seasons. I want a situation where we can nip this thing in the bud and get back to winning Eagles football.
Completely agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. Tyler, I had to get you on, man. I wanted to talk to you so bad about this. There's so much going on, and being my co-host at all, I had to hear what you had to say about it, man. Go in.
There's a lot, especially after following these two and what they just mentioned. Where do you start?
Yeah.
Like and I think that there is this, and we've talked about it on previous shows. There's this infatuation from Eagle fans when there starts to be some struggle. It always seems like this fan base needs to point the finger at somebody or someone, and the natural thing to do at first is the quarterback. But then you start to question, well, is he being put in a position to succeed? Then you question his surroundings or the decision-making around it. And then you start to question the personnel around it. I mean, and Meanie just mentioned all three of them. Is it Howie? Is it Wentz? Is it Doug? And I think.
Sorry if I stole your thunder.
No, you didn't because we all feel it. Yeah. We all feel that way. And I think that if there's anything Eagle fans deserve, it's answers. And we need that. And I think that there's been this clear disconnect that we've talked about dating back to even before the season started, whether they should sign a running back or not, bring in a running back to back up Miles. And then there's this whole thing, can he be a 3-down back, or this corner, like you said, is going to play really well somewhere else and he can't play well here. There is a clear disconnect between the coaching staff and the front office. And why, I used to say, just get Doug out of here and let's get a new offensive, or let's get a new head coach. Well, if we do that and then they decide to keep Howie Roseman and these things continue, we don't know the full answer. Is there going to be another scapegoat for Howie? and so I'm a big Howie Roseman defender, and I don't think he's nearly as bad as everybody suggests, but I'm also on the team of, if he stays and there's a new scapegoat, then we're just, like you said, the big fear is we want this to get back on track within 2 or 3 years. And so if you don't clean house completely, we may be revisiting this type of conversation in 2 years from now if they decide to just do a minor fix. And that's my biggest worry, is quit doing the temporary stuff. And it may be just best for Jeffrey Lurie to look at himself in the mirror and say, hey, let's just reset this whole dang thing and start from scratch. And that might be best. And that's why I'm not an NFL owner. I don't have that bankroll. I don't have that decision-making up to me. But that's really, to me, what it comes down to is we can get into the Wentz and Hurts stuff. That's more minor. I think big picture is what should be being discussed right now for the Eagles and what's best.
Yeah, I completely agree. And most of the comments in here agree with everything that we're saying so far. But I think what cannot be lost in this at all, and we have to really be honest with ourselves, is Carson Wentz is playing bad. Like, he is playing bottom tier quarterback play. It's benchable. Now, where when I see this move happen, I don't see it as the end of Carson Wentz. I know everybody cites his contract, but I think it's a little overblown. I think you can get out of a bad contract if you want to get out of a bad contract, and if the player wants to get out of that, it's a bad contract as well. But my thing is, I just see this as a ploy to save Doug Peterson's job. Doug clearly thinks that this team is 3-8-1. They're done. He must think they're done because he did say weeks ago, if I put in Jalen Hurts as a starting quarterback, the season's over then. The season must be over. He must be he must be coaching for his job, and he must have finally evaluated this week of play and said, I need to look at myself in the mirror, emotionally detach myself from everything Philadelphia Eagles-wise, make a decision, and rock with it. And he decided Carson's play is holding me back and costing me my job. I'm going to see what Jalen has, and that's what this move is to me. But you got to fire Doug Peterson. There's no way he can come back this next season. I'm sorry. No way I can do it. I'm not out on Carson Wentz, but I am a little bit more worried about Carson Wentz than I was prior to this season. That's for sure. Because if he can play this way once, who's to say it doesn't happen again? So now I'm more on the fence of I'm kind of glad that they do have this insurance policy in Jalen Hurts, because as what sucks about this whole Jalen Hurts thing is we should be excited. The rookie quarterback. This guy has potential. He played good at Oklahoma. He played well at Alabama. He led both those teams to national championships. This guy has talent, but I just think right now Doug Peterson makes this move because he knows that the writing is on the wall. And if Jalen Hurts come out and plays well, and the Eagles win a couple games, then he can just go to the end of the year and say, Jeffrey, Howie, it wasn't really all me. I mean, the quarterback was a huge problem here, and I made the change and made the move, and look what happened. So that's all I see as this move right now. I don't think it's once his end of his Philadelphia tenure here.
One of the major kerfuffles or conundrums with the season is the whole NFC East stinks. It's hot garbage. Now, like if they had this record and everybody else in the division was doing great, they could have probably made this move a couple weeks sooner, and try to, give Carson a game or two off and then bring him back and say, okay, maybe it was just him resetting his mental batteries. You could say, Carson's playing bad, but then again, the man's running for his life because he's got, Jason Peters, who used to be the bodyguard, and all Jason Peters is right now is just a body. He's just a body on the field. So he's the matador. Every time somebody runs at him, he goes "Olay" and lets him through. So Carson's got to. Carson's constantly running for his life. He has no faith in this offensive line. There's been 11 different offensive lines matchups each and every week. So he's got to deal with that. And then also he just got over the whole Foles thing. Okay, I got that devil off my back. Oh, here comes another backup quarterback controversy. So he's never really had a place where he could just go, he's always been worried about somebody behind him potentially coming to take his job. And then the offensive line and all these, older players around him breaking down. And there's been no continuity on that line and play calling. If you want to do Carson, Carson's a great quarterback. He's just I've said this before, and they've done him no favors. It's been a buffet of bad decisions all around. So he's probably like trying to do his best, and like, what the heck? I'm doing the best I can here. And there's also that thing I talked about the last few weeks. As somebody who's probably had many undiagnosed concussions. Who's to say that concussion that ended the season last year still isn't lingering? Head injuries are a serious thing. And Carson kind of alluded to it in the press conference. He said something about he softly said something about concussions and went on to it, and nobody asked a follow-up question like, Carson, what do you mean about the concussions? Can you further elaborate on that? It's like he said it and it just right. That could be another thing too. So you're talking about the owner being friends with a guy who doesn't want to retire in Jason Peters. You got Howie potentially or not. We don't know, getting good or crummy players in here. Who knows? And then you got, the bad play calling, and you got these older guys on the line. Not to mention you have a defensive. We haven't even talked about the defense. There's that little spark where the team looked like they were going to come back next. I know we promised we weren't going to talk about the game, but we got in within. And what's up with Jake Elliott? I mean, we got in with it. We could have been within 6 points. We could have been within 6 points, right? And then all of a sudden, that defense never lets us down. They let the Packers run the ball 73 yards the other way. So what's up with Schwartz, man? I mean, can we get a cornerback over 5'7"?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. What you got? The whole comment section when you were going off on that, I was agreeing with you. If you're going to hold Carson Wentz to these standards, if you're going to hold Carson Wentz to these standards, you better hold Jason Peters and Avonte Maddox and some other guys to these standards as well, because they are playing awful and they deserve to be benched as well, especially Jason Peters. But I kept this comment on the screen for the longest time from John because I could not agree more. He's right. Andy Reid did give a vote of confidence to the Eagles when they hired Chip Kelly. They need to get out of the Andy Reid shadow once and for all. It's time. That ended in 2012, and it ended awful in 2012. This season actually kind of reminds me of 2012, to be honest with you. They need to get out of that shadow once and for all. Get somebody that has no idea who Andy Reid is, has never talked to him in his life.
This is kind of like what the Flyers, bringing back former Flyers to either coach or be GMs. We keep going back to this Andy Reid. We wax poetic over the Andy Reid learning tree. So yeah, it's just like the Flyers bringing back Bobby Clark to be in the head office or front office and all this stuff. So it's kind of a parallel situation.
Yeah, most of the comments wants everybody to clean house, so I couldn't agree more. But here we go. I would love Joe Brady. That would be my pick right away. Brian Dabble for the Bills, Joe Brady, Lincoln Riley, if we can pray. But no. So I see everybody commenting about John. That was a good comment, John. That was good. I couldn't agree more. I said it this earlier on the pod. They need to get out of the Andrew Reid shadow. That has to go away. It has to be done. I'm done with that. But going back to what Mike's saying, so I was going to ask you guys, Carson Wentz got benched 2018 because his back, but I mean, they're letting him play through his back for a numerous period of time. They really benched him because his play started deteriorating because of the back injury. You see the Saints defense coming up. Do you think maybe that can go into it too? Is that, we just need to get Jalen Hurts out there, get Carson, because Carson Wentz playing any longer is just deteriorating himself.
Yeah. No,
or do you think
it's time, man.
Yeah, it is time.
You can't defend it. It was inevitable. It was long overdue. I mean, again, if the Eagles didn't have those late season runs in 2018 or 2019, people would have asked for Wentz to be pulled 4 weeks ago. But it was this idea of maybe this will catch fire and, we'll get into the playoffs and we'll squeeze some wins. But I mean, and again, we touched on the crappy division. If this crappy division wasn't here, Wentz would have been benched a long time ago. This season is it's time, man. And again, this is a Wentz fan. This is a Wentz defender. I mean, it's
same here. Yeah.
It's been time. You can't justify it. And that's the scariest thing about this. And Connor, you said it. If Carson can showcase playing this way, it is not at all impossible that this can't resurface again in 2 or 3 years. And that's the scariest thing is 2018, it was always considered just the injury. But now this type of season comes to surface and yes, Meanie, you touched on the concussion, and that's crossed my mind too. Something needs to make sense because he overcame bad coaching before. And so it's no longer just bad coaching. It's why are you making this gamble on a 1st and 10 in the red zone, against the Cowboys or whatever. There's just so many head scratching decisions, and we just never saw.
Why are you using Miles Sanders? Why are you using the run game? What is that?
Well,
what is that excuse for that?
That's Doug. But I mean, if we're talking big picture and potential issues, and again, I can't stress this enough, I'm one of the biggest Carson Wentz fans there is. I mean, I think we all kind of in consensus are. It's just scary to think about the actual wall that he hit this season, and you truly wonder, Yes, there is coaching, but again, he's overcome that before. Yes, it was lack of personnel, but he's overcome that before. It's scary. It's a scary thought because, you immediately think new coach build around Carson. And again, I do want to touch on Hurts eventually. I haven't really talked about Hurts, and I haven't talked about Hurts for a reason because I think that Wentz deserved that. I'm excited about Hurts, the prospect, and I think Eagle fans should be. Jalen Hurts is a damn good QB prospect, and it'll be fun to see him showcase himself. But the problem is this situation so bad where he could actually be a really good talent, and he may not even be able to actually showcase himself truly. So that's another grain of salt that fans need to take.
I mean, this is definitely going to be a matter of, like I said, there, Carson's playing, and then there's Howie, and then there's Doug. Well, we're taking Carson out of the equation this week. So next week, we might see, hey, maybe it is Doug. Maybe it is Doug's play calling. Maybe I keep going back to this joke. Not only is, vanilla his favorite ice cream, but his favorite play calling as of late. It just, man, dude, where's the creativity that we saw in 2017, or was that Frank Reich? You know what I'm saying? My biggest fear is, Carson's going to go to the Colts and win a Super Bowl. So,
or Denver.
Yeah.
Or Denver.
They're always looking for a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And you just touched on a really good point. I hope that fans can see through and sift through all of this to where, like, yes, we all want answers, but understand these answers aren't going to come in the next 2 weeks.
No.
And if you see Jalen Hurts throw for an 80-yard touchdown on the first drive of the game, it doesn't all of a sudden mean the team needs to build around him. Like, take everything with a grain of salt and just be and I'm saying this, and then come Sunday, it's not going to happen. But just be patient. Just be patient. This is going to take a long time, and if they're truly going to hit this rebuild or this reset button, this could go into 2022. So I think we're all searching for answers, but don't find the wrong ones. Is all I'm saying on that.
To the comment on the screen, I've been seeing people talk about this on Twitter. I am not trading Jalen Hurts personally. Sorry.
No, and I mean that's all contextual, right? We need to figure out what the offers would be, who it would be to. I mean, there's way too much. How does Wentz look? Is there a coach hired? It's kind of hard to answer questions right now in December about a season that starts in September for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a matter of, I mean, I hate even talking about this, but I mean, Jalen plays good for the last, next four weeks. And then do you want to risk going into 2021 with Wentz as the quarterback, say he stinks up again, and say you have potential suitors right now for Carson? Like I said, the Colts, they're about to get rid of, they're about to part ways with Phillip Rivers, and Frank Reich and Carson have that bond. Would the Colts be willing to give up a first rounder for that? Where you can get younger talent in here to maybe put out there with a Jalen Hurts. Also, you got to do situations with the cap. We got to let Alshon go. We got to get Deshaun out of here. We got to let guys like Fulgham and all those finally get first player reps, because since Alshon's come back, all the other players have gone. It's just like, we need to have some younger blood in there, younger energy. And maybe Carson needs just a fresh set of scenery to,
I hope we're not already doing that. I'm praying we don't.
Well, look, the backup quarterback, when it comes to Philadelphia, the backup quarterback's always the sexier pick.
Yeah.
When Donovan will go down, AJ Feely's the man. And then he stinks up against Seattle, and then they're like, he's not the man anymore. AJ Feely almost beats the Patriots, and the next week he stinks up against Seattle, and the fans are leaving, in mass exodus, who, called for AJ Feely to be the heir apparent. And then Kevin Cobb comes in. He's the heir apparent. And then first game, we always look at that backup quarterback like, replace Donovan. Okay, replace Carson. I'm trying not to fall down that rabbit hole. but I don't. There's this soundbite I keep going back to. It's on the Eagles 2017 Super Bowl season Blu-ray, where Doug is talking to Lynch from the 49ers, and he's like, "Yeah, Carson's a great player. He's in here every morning." Yeah, until we ruin him. Maybe they ruined him for Philadelphia.
It does happen. It does happen.
Yeah.
Mike, heck no. I do not trust him. No. No.
Oh, come on.
No.
Come on. I do.
No, I would. I mean, Jeffrey Lurie is not going to get rid of Howie Roseman. I've already come to that conclusion in my head. I'm not going to hope for something that's not going to happen because I really don't think it's going to happen.
Howie's got a folder of photos of Jeff in compromising positions.
There's something going on there. There's something going on there. There's something weird going on there.
Maybe a relative from a burning building or something. Maybe.
Hey, and I'm curious. We should put this on the next show. For the people asking for Howie Roseman to be fired, I would love to know your GM suggestions.
Yeah.
I would love to know GM suggestions because a lot of people are asking him to be canned and they can't even name 10 other NFL GMs. So I just want to check it. I want to know who are we calling for?
I mean, Ricker was angling it for him on Monday night a couple weeks ago. So
I do by the way, I like Lewis. I love Louis Riddick. Yeah. This is the one guy that I would be on board with. I love Louis Riddick.
Yeah.
I like Ed Dodds and the Colts. Anybody that works for Chris Ballard, I'll take. My personal pick. But
Chris Ballard went through a rough patch.
Put Giovanni in.
He's going through a rough patch right now too, but once he gets a quarterback. But I get Andrew Berry back somehow. He's doing some good stuff over there in Cleveland as well, too. He hired the right coach. I mean, he picked the right coach.
Ew.
Anybody that's not named Howie Roseman, how about that? It's not going to happen, though. Howie's staying with this team.
Fans got to understand he's not that bad. Whether you hate him or like him, he's not that bad.
Well, I mean, Myrna's right. I mean, he does need help. You can get him a Joe Douglas. I mean, Andy White was supposed to be the Joe Douglas type, so I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know. Man.
Right? Joe Douglas was supposed to be, the Howie, the check Howie, keep Howie in line, and then he goes off to the Jets. Oh well, he goes off to the Jets. I don't know what's going on up there, but it's just a matter. Yeah, somebody needs. Like I said, there needs to be a yin and a yang in the system. Doug needs somebody to be his. I want to do this. No, you got to do it this way, and somehow they meet in the middle, like the chocolate and peanut butter. On a Reese cup. Howie needs somebody to rein him in a little bit and say, okay, that's cool, but the reason why we're in this Jalen Hurts situation before is because Howie's always regretted, not getting the quarterback from the Seattle. I don't talk about headshots, but he's always regretted, passing on him, and now he went and get Jalen Hurts because he's similar. So instead of we could have had like an alignment, we could have had so many different players. I bet a better quarterback in this last draft, but he was chasing the ghost of past drafts.
I agree with this comment on the screen too. I do. I would like to. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do it on the short week, but I mean, if you're going to put Jalen Hurts in, scrap the whole entire offense because he's not going to be successful in that Doug Peterson offense he's calling right now. Change everything. Go back to what you did when you changed everything around Foles. Do that this time too, because Jalen Hurts is not going to play well. The Pearson offense.
If he all of a sudden starts just rolling him out, and just doing this crazy creative. Yeah, I will say the biggest thing that popped out on screen on Sunday was when Hurts was in. His mobility. I didn't realize how much mobility Wentz has lost.
Yeah.
That was like a clear eye opener. It was immediate. As soon as the pocket collapsed, he stepped up immediately and picked up 8 or 10 yards, and it was on like 3 separate occasions. So that was exciting.
I don't have that. I mean, I agree with this comment on screen too. I don't have what Jalen Hurts does out in the football field. I would not condemn him for because of those reasons.
No.
He wasn't expecting to start either. So
That's
Plus-
also the reason why I kind of gave Carson a mulligan on the last 2 seasons, because last season he didn't play a single snap in the preseason. I was like, he just came out rusty, right? And then, like, towards the end of the season, he got his sea legs, and he's playing with a bunch of deck chairs, throwing the ball to them and making things happen, And then, like, this season, in the beginning, I was like, well, again, there's no preseason, there's no OTAs, maybe it's a little rusty, but then, the offensive line isn't doing them favors, and the play calling's not doing them any favors. And then maybe it's just a matter of getting him out so he doesn't get murdered, because he's been they keep saying the most sacked quarterback in the whole NFL. But back to Carson's mobility is not there anymore. That's the one thing I noticed with Jalen. I mean, his footwork, his mobility, and stuff like that, and this ability to. It's amazing. Alshon Jeffrey can catch a ball now, with Jalen Hurts. Man. I don't know if maybe I don't know if he was sandbagging Carson or anything like that.
So Andrew actually had a comment on here that I thought was actually so true to even think about, is that ever since the injuries, I think Doug has scaled back Carson because of the injuries, though. I think he's tried to force him to be a pocket passer because of the injuries. I don't think he's that concerned with Jalen,
but he has those performances or games or drives against like the Ravens where he rushes for 60 or 70 yards.
I feel like that's Carson, though. I feel like that's all him. That's his vision. Yeah. I think it's just Carson being Carson. And that
I don't think he's
incapable. I don't think Doug
incapable.
schemes it for him. Yeah, I don't think he's incapable. I think it's Doug. I think it's all Doug. I think it's 100% Doug Peterson's fault. He's scared to scheme the way he wants to, or the mobile side around his quarterback, because he's scared he's going to get hurt. And that's just how I get from it. But Giovanni, this comment on the screen is perfect for my next question for you. This is what I burned and ask you. Let's just say, and we all, by the way, would pray this would happen. Let's just say you own the Philadelphia Eagles. You are Jeffrey Lurie. You bought the team from him. You go into the 2021 offseason. Giovanni makes all the decisions now. This is completely up to him. What do you do?
I think you clean house with the coaches, except for Deuce. Keep Deuce, and maybe keep Jim Shorts. But I think you might give the play calling to Deuce. Get a new head coach, offensive coordinator, QB coach. I think that
keep Stoutland though. Keep Stoutland though. Definitely keep Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland's gotta stay. What about Howie?
You keep Howie. I've been saying this all season. You can't expect a new GM to come in and take care of this cap situation.
Yeah.
It's true. He's not wrong about that. I know as much as we're all dying to see get rid of Howie Roseman. Number one, I don't think Larry's going to do it. That's just bottom how I feel. And Giovanni feels that way, and others feel that way as well. That's what their guts are telling them. But number two, I mean, it's true. I would hate to ask a new GM, new personnel man to come in and deal with this cap situation. The only way I would like it is that he doesn't have the emotional attachment to the players to make the hard decisions that he's going to have to make. But other than that, you're right.
Gio, there's a lot more people online who like you more than me. Can you just tweet out that you like Howie Roseman? Just do me a favor, my man. I love it.
It was a good take. Here's a good take. I understand what he's saying, but
no, go ahead.
See, this is here's the number one reason. He's been with the team for 20 years. It's not like Jeffrey Lurie just hired him. He did demote him, but he never got really rid of him. He kept him in the same building still. Now, that's the only thing I could see that could possibly happen with Howie Roseman. He's getting stripped of a title, but I don't think that's even going to happen either.
Don't you want to see Howie Roseman go through a coach hire process one more time? Like that's where my take is let him go through, because after the Chip Kelly hire, and we talked about this before the Packers game, before the Chip Kelly hire, or after the Chip Kelly hire, because Chip ruined the locker room, right? The big issue with Chip was the emotional response with like the locker room. He lost it. So they needed to bring somebody in who can handle the locker room. And Doug was known as a yes man. Doug was known as somebody who would just nod his head to the front office and say, I will do what you guys say. They got a Super Bowl out of it. Now it's starting to fail. Reset. Everybody knows Doug is an issue. We're not saying he's the issue, but he's an issue. Get Doug
There are
out
multiple.
and let Howie just try and find a coach on offense and defense that will control both sides, see how it works, give it a 2-year whirl. If not, can the entire thing. That is my take.
That's a good take.
I also
Here's my thing about that. They did luck into Doug Peterson, though. They almost hired Ben McAdoo, and they were really in on Adam Gase.
It does happen.
It does happen. Thank you, Kenny. I'm a fan of you as well, my friend.
The Colts lucked into Frank Reich, by the way.
They did.
It happened.
They did.
I think
'Cause
that was
you're
a
right.
setup
It
from
has happened.
Belichick.
Yep.
I think that was a sub from. I think Belichick purposely kept his guy in there just to kind of screw over the Eagles because he knew if if he kept his offensive coordinator who was going to go to the Colts. I'm blanking on his name, but he knew he's purposely sending Frank Reich to the Indianapolis Colts. And maybe Frank Reich was the architect all along. Who knows? But
I somewhat agree with this. I somewhat agree with this comment on the screen too. I think we'll see. Well, he's going to get another chance. He's going to get another chance, whether it's the Jets or the Texans. He's going to get another chance. But I don't think he should be calling plays. I think he should finally swallow his pride there and realize, I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe a half of football, but not the whole entire time. But
from the outside looking in, I mean, the word around the NFL, there's probably a lot of people who could be potential hires that might go, that looks like a messy situation. Do I really want to be a part of that too? You know what I'm saying? Between Jeffrey Lurie firing the coach underneath,
You mean like a head coach?
A coach, a potential GM. I know. I think we all agreed we're not getting rid of Howie because he's got blackmail on Jeff. Just kidding, but not really. But somebody looking out there who wants to potentially come in here and coach, they could probably see the relationship between Doug and Jeff Lurie right now, and just like, I don't want to say Jeff Lurie's going into Jones land type area where he's telling the coach what to do. But I mean, do you think there's potential coaches out there to see what's going on within this circle and going, I'm cool over here,
It's a big market. It's a big market to say no to.
A big market.
The lure of Philadelphia just does it for everybody, I think.
And
It convinced Chip Kelly to leave Oregon. The lure of Philadelphia convinced Chip Kelly to leave Oregon. That's all I gotta say. So
yeah, I think it's an enticing place to be.
All right, I need to get this off my chest. I need to ask this for everybody that's remembered. Giovanni has a video of Carson Wentz, and it was kind of special. It's a little special. So, Giovanni, what I really wanted to ask you, and I even wrote this down so I didn't forget, so I wanted you to say it on the live show for all our viewers. If you had a chance to just have a one-on-one conversation with Carson Wentz right now, not for a podcast, not anything like that. I'm talking about just a man-to-man conversation. What would you say to him?
I don't really know. I would probably ask him what he thinks he's been doing wrong this season and what he thinks he can get better at. And I would personally love to see what he thinks is the biggest problem with this offense. I think I would ask him what he thinks he can improve on and what he thinks the offense as a whole can improve on.
Would you ask him, how is your friendship with Jalen Hurts? No, I'm just kidding. No. Those are good questions. I would just want to see, because I think knowing you and knowing how you truly feel about Carson Wentz, forget the video, forget your fanhood and everything, but you would just as much as anybody else. You believe he's a top 10 caliber quarterback. You believe he is a great quarterback. That's why I wanted to hear your opinion. Like, what would Giovanni say to Carson Wentz in this situation to help him overcome what's going on right now? Because we do want to see that Carson Wentz again. Very interesting. I like it, bud. Oh no, I don't think he means that. I just think the owner's getting a little too hands-on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Jerry Jones. A lot of people don't want to coach for Jerry Jones, just because they know he wants to have he's got this Al Bundy fantasy where he's a quarterback, and he wants to be the de facto coach. But then Doug looked foolish saying, my assistant coaches aren't going nowhere, and then the very next day they're fired.
Yeah.
And Doug has this egg on his face. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now, does somebody else who might potentially want to come here go? I don't know. I mean, besides the fact that Philly is a big market, it's an enticing market, but it's really a hard market to go to.
You can call it toxic.
It's toxic. Yeah, no, it's the truth.
Well,
I think it's true.
Because that would be me calling myself toxic, but I'm only toxic after I have some chili. But and my wife is like, but no, from the outside, we got the hardest fans. We're not, those fans who go, oh, whatever, if you do something wrong, if you stink, we tell you stink. The media department here is no walk in the park, where I'm sure if you go to an Arizona press conference, you might get somebody who occasionally covers football down there or whatever. Our fans are knowledgeable. Our reporters, our talk radio are ravenous. And plus, on top of everything that's happening between Doug and potential ownership, potentially going on between Doug and Jeff Lurie and Howie, maybe somebody on the outside's like, I'm kind of cool over here. Let me go to a little place that where I can actually get some sleep and not get a stomach ulcer.
Yeah, I mean,
think it definitely goes in their head. I think it definitely goes in the process.
And I do think that the QB situation is going to be probably the most attractive part of the job, is whether there is a coach who I would probably say takes the side of, hey, this is Carson Wentz, I can get the most out of him, or if there's a guy like, I don't know, Lincoln Riley or somebody who says that they could get the most out of a Jalen Hurts. But I think that's the most, I guess, appealing part of what this job can provide. I mean, you can go to a great organization like Chicago, but if there's this question mark at QB, then what do you really have? And so that's why it's exciting, because if a young guy or this young innovator or woman, I mean, it's 2020, who knows? Yeah. But I mean, shoot, like if there is this creative
13-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, that's
Giovanni's a Disney movie waiting to happen,
Right. Hey, he's got my vote of confidence.
No, all the way. I believe.
Let's wrap it up with this last.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, my point was right there.
Giovanni as the GM and head coach. That's a perfect Disney movie. I mean,
come on.
Plus,
Let's wrap it up with this last question. I mean, I think it's a good question for everybody's asking. If Jalen Hurts comes in, I need to add some context to this because he needs to play well in these games as well. But if Jalen Hurts comes in and wins out, what do you do for next season? I would let my new head coach decide. That's a cop-out answer. But I would.
Jalen Hurts could come in for the next 4 games and throw 20 touchdowns to no interceptions and 1,500 yards, and you still have to evaluate next year.
Yeah,
you just have to.
There's quarterback competition then. Quarterback competition.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a Nick Foles have a 27-2 over 13 games. Like, we need more than a 4, and that's why it was such a crazy idea that people were using this 12-game stretch to say Carson Wentz is all of a sudden a bad quarterback. You got to use a bigger sample size. There's too much context that goes into this position.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the next 4 games, I hate to be a negative Nelly, but I really don't want him to win it. I want that draft pick, but I kind of want to see. I want to at least have an exciting couple competitive games. Just take me out of my misery, please. I don't want to be the best of the worst, but I don't want to be the worst of the worst either. But when it comes to the next 4 games, you're going to see how Jalen Hurts performs against some of the tough defense like New Orleans. But it's going to be a hard decision going into this offseason because you could potentially get a first round. Like, I don't want Carson Wentz traded. That's what I'm saying. But if that's an option and the Colts come up and say, hey, here's a first and a second rounder for this next draft coming up, and that gives you a chance to get 2 first round talents and 2 second round talents, what do you do? Or do you take the risk saying we'll have a competition in the offseason, and then if Wentz wins out that competition and underperforms again next year, you lost that opportunity. So I'm trying to look at it from a fan and from a businessman. You got to look at opportunities and stuff like that. And I don't know if Carson's tainted with this. I think Carson's an amazing talent, but I don't know if I think the honeymoon's well been over between him and the city of Philadelphia. I think he loves Philly. I think we love him, but the fact that he's going through so much here, it's like when you have a bad breakup and you're going through, you go down to the basement to look for some throw out some old stuff and you find something from your ex and you're just like, you think of that bad time. Every time Carson comes in to play a game, there's always some kind of reminder. Okay, we got rid of Foles. They drafted a quarterback. He's got so many bad memories here that maybe he needs a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? Injury, back, concussion, Foles. Now they got Hurts.
I think he needs it more than anything else.
Fans going, what do I have to do to get?
Yeah, he needs it more than anybody else.
Yeah, he needs a mental reset. But is Philly the place for it?
Find out. We'll find out. Giovanni, what do you want to see from Jalen Hurts over these next couple of games if he ends up being the rest of the start of the season?
Meanie, I'm kind of sad that you went on to the dark side and you went to the draft picks. I want to see him come out here and ball out. To be honest, he's a rookie. He deserves it. He deserves to come into the NFL like this, and I think he will.
All right, I like it. You're ready for the Jalen Hurts show now, at least.
Yeah.
You added some reasoning to your, because I know it stinks. We didn't expect Carson Wentz to get benched. We never thought this would happen.
Another thing they did to Carson that did him no favors. The QB lineup reads Wentz Hurts.
Yeah.
They couldn't have done that before they got to play with his name Hurts. Wentz Hurts. They're already saying he's injury prone, but now it says Wentz Hurts.
All right, so let's wrap this up, guys. I'm excited for next week. We'll be talking after the Saints game to see how Jalen Hurts does. I mean, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. I don't want to talk about Jalen Hurts. It's new. It's exciting.
This Eagles game brought to you by Tums.
All right, so real quick before we wrap it up, Giovanni, you are having who on tomorrow?
I'm having Michael Barkham on tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh, wow. That is going to be an amazing episode.
Hold on.
What you could?
I got put on my blue glasses in honor of Michael Barkham. So
Yeah.
So not only that, you have the perfect time to have him on because now you can talk about this quarterback situation the whole entire time. Yeah, let's go. That's going to be a fun interview. Also, the Kelly Green show that comes out later this week on Thursday has an amazing guest that she lined up and did an interview with. Everybody's going to enjoy that episode. Also, Meanie, plug it in, bud. Let's go.
If you would like to support the Blue Meanie, every Monday morning, I have the Mind of the Meanie podcast, which drops wherever you could get your favorite podcasts. We also have our podcast drop on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie. If you would like to support the Blue Meanie, if you want to get one of the highest selling shirts in ECW history, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie and you can get yourself a Blue Meanie shirt, a BWO shirt. I also have several Philly sports centric shirts in Flyers colors, Eagles colors, Phillies, you name it, Union colors. So go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. If you would like the Blue Meanie to give you a personalized message, go to cameo.com/Blue Meanie BWO.
And you can also go to DraftKings right now, sign up,
Dakota.
make an account, go to dkng.co/brawlpod. Go ahead. We'll give you a free entry to each week thanks to our partnership with DraftKings. Also, manscaped.com. Use promo code BRAWL for 20% off plus free shipping. And if you are in need of a Jalen Hurts jersey now, you can go to the Eagles Brawl Twitter account and go to the Eagles Brawl socials. We posted a link that for our affiliation with Fanatics to go purchase a Jalen Hurts jersey. It supports the show, so please go buy those because I know everybody needs that new jersey now because we have a new quarterback out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week to talk about Jalen Hurts' first start versus the New Orleans Saints.